This was an unusual event that was difficult to explain at first glance. Imagine, two hydroacoustic stations located about 4,000 kilometers apart simultaneously detected the same phenomenon deep in the South Atlantic Ocean. This occurred at 10:31 a.m. on November 15, 2017. At that moment, a powerful acoustic anomaly suddenly appeared on the ocean floor as if it had exploded or flashed. Such a loud sound could not have gone unnoticed. It resembled an explosion, equivalent to half a ton of TNT. But the most astonishing part was yet to come. 3 days after this unusual event, American naval sensors recorded something strange. From the depths of the ocean, there were steady, clear knocks of metallic objects. Thud after thud, as if someone was deliberately tapping on the hull of a ship in hopes of sending a distress signal. These sounds resembled ticking, rhythmic and purposeful, and if it had not been known about the earlier incident, such sounds might have been dismissed as random noise or technical interference. But everything was more serious. One of the sounds was a deception. It could not have been accidental. The money, effort, and decades of work had built the ship. San Juan, a submarine of the Argentine Navy, was commissioned into the country's naval forces on November 29, 1985. It was not just an ordinary submarine. It was a true Cold War weapon, built with German engineering precision and national pride. It was constructed at the Thyssen-Nordsee-Werke shipyard in Emden. This was one of two completed submarines of the Tierminus 1700 project, created to ensure the country's strategic defense. The original plan, developed in the 1970s, envisioned building 6 such submarines, 2 in Germany, 2 in Argentina, and 2 smaller ones of the Tierminus 1400 project. However, the realities of that era, political instability, sharp budget cuts, hyperinflation, and an economic crisis that swept the country in the 1980s and 1990s, significantly undermined Argentina's shipbuilding capabilities. The technical complexity of these ships was higher than what the domestic industry could support at that time. As a result, only 2 were built. The ones that came from Germany, San Juan and her sister ship, ARA Santa Cruz. The Tierminus 1700 project made the Argentine Navy one of the most modern in the world at that time. Visually, these submarines resembled German Type 209 and French Augusta-class ships, but San Juan surpassed them in speed, size, and armament. Inside, it was powered by powerful MTU diesel engines, which supplied electricity to Siemens electric motors. These submarines operated in conjunction with 8 massive batteries manufactured by Varta, enabling the vessel to reach the speeds of up to 25 knots underwater, a feat not many surface ships or submarines of that era could boast. At the bow, there were 6 torpedo tubes controlled by a hydraulic system capable of reloading in less than a minute, providing sustained firepower in combat conditions. Inside, the submarine could carry up to 22 torpedoes, including SST-4 models guided by wire designed for long-range attacks against enemy ships, as well as outdated Mark 37 torpedoes that use passive acoustic homing to locate and track underwater targets. Regarding sensor systems, San Juan was equipped with highly advanced gear for its class. At its core was a fire control system developed in the N, which in 1994 demonstrated to the world how dangerous a submarine could be by slipping past American destroyers during the Major Fleet X exercise in 1994. It easily bypassed the U.S. Navy's defensive screen without detection and simulated a torpedo attack on the flagship, the destroyer USS Mount Whitney. In military terms, this was a victory, clean, silent, and noiseless. The submarine repeated this feat in other international exercises, including large joint operations like UNITAS and Gringo Gaucho, involving groups of American aircraft carriers. During military drills, it often exceeded its capabilities, easily passing by larger and more powerful fleets. By the early 2000s, San Juan was already aging rapidly, and its technical condition required upgrades. In 2008, it was sent for a major overhaul at the Sinar shipyard in Buenos Aires. The work was delayed due to economic instability, extending the repair period to 5 years. During the overhaul, its hull was cut in half, a complex and risky operation that allowed access to all internal systems of the vessel. Specialists spent over 500,000 hours replacing key components, 4 MTU diesel engines, batteries, and other vital systems. As a result, the submarine became stronger, cleaner, and, in theory, could serve for at least another 10 years underwater. However, its last missions bore little resemblance to training exercises. For several years, it patrolled Argentina's exclusive economic zone near Puerto Madryn, hunting illegal fishing vessels and monitoring foreign ships in disputed waters, often near the Falkland Islands archipelago. This was quiet, covert service, unnoticed and silent. In early November 2017, ARA San Juan participated in naval live-fire exercises off the coast of Tierra del Fuego, which ended with the sinking of the decommissioned destroyer Comodoro Sarmiento as a target. After the exercises and a rare public tour in Ushuaia, the submarine quietly disappeared beneath the water and headed north toward its home port in Mar del Plata. But it never arrived. On November 11th, all communication with the vessel was cut off. 2 days later, the Argentine Navy confirmed the worst fears. San Juan was missing. It was last detected approximately 200 nautical miles southeast of San Jorge Gulf. Since then, there has been no sound or sign of life. Where the submarine had been, complete silence reigned. On board were 44 people, men and women, including Eliana Kravchik, the first female officer in the history of the Argentine submarine fleet, a symbol of modernization and change within the Navy. The math of survival in such a situation was brutally harsh. The oxygen supply on board was limited, roughly enough for about 7 days underwater, meaning time was rapidly running out. President Mauricio Macri focused on managing the situation, relocating to Chapadmalal, a special government and military facility near Mar del Plata, to personally oversee the rescue efforts. Meanwhile, the families of the crew endured unbearable agony, waiting for any news, clinging to every piece of information, while psychological support teams worked tirelessly to prevent panic. International agencies and organizations were immediately mobilized, including the International Charter for Space and Major Disasters, which enabled satellite assistance from around the world. The entire world watched anxiously as this desperate search unfolded in the southern Atlantic Ocean. Hope briefly flickered when satellite phone signals were detected, presumably from the submarine. However, nature and the ocean soon turned against them. Massive waves about 8 meters high crashed loudly into the search zone, creating insurmountable obstacles for ships and aircraft, and hampering the operation of hydroacoustic systems. These enormous waves not only hindered movement and complicated the search, but also made it impossible to precisely locate the submarine. At times, it seemed as if the sea itself was creating barriers, as if trying to thwart the rescue at any cost. Hours turned into days, and the anxiety among rescuers grew. This was no longer just a delay. It was turning into a full-blown crisis requiring immediate and decisive action. The entire team understood that the oxygen reserves on board were running out. This was evident from how quickly the available time for rescue was diminishing. Probably the harsh sea conditions kept the ARA San Juan at a depth that neither ships nor rescue equipment could reach in time, as it was impossible to penetrate such depths quickly and safely. From afar on the other side of the world, a U.S. Navy P-8I Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, equipped with advanced hydroacoustic systems and long-range sensors, detected rhythmic sounds, metallic knocking, resembling strikes or taps, that seemed to originate from the crew attempting to send a distress signal. These sounds resembled repeated impacts on the hull, as if the crew was trying to find a way or communicate with the outside world. At the same time, Argentine Navy ships, including corvettes and patrol vessels, began approaching the suspected search zone to intensify efforts and possibly find some clue. Families waiting on shore held their breath, following the developments, and despite everything, began to hope there was still a chance to locate the submarine and rescue its crew. However, after conducting an acoustic analysis, their hopes were shattered. The sounds, which appeared to be signs of life or distress signals, turned out to be nothing more than illusions caused by marine fauna or distorted reflections. These noises resulted from a distant sonar echo, mistakenly interpreted as crew signals. Still, despite the disappointment, the search continued and became one of the largest peacetime search and rescue operations at sea. Over 30 ships, aircraft, and helicopters from more than a dozen different countries participated. They scanned nearly 500,000 square kilometers of ocean, an area larger than the state of California. Gradually, weather conditions improved. Clouds dispersed, the sky cleared, and the sea calmed, allowing hydroacoustic systems to operate more effectively and yield more accurate data. The discovery became possible thanks to advanced technologies. New hydroacoustic scans revealed a thermal trail at a depth of about 70 meters, approximately 300 kilometers from the port of Mar del Plata. At that moment, the Argentine corvette ARA Drummond, equipped with modern rescue and deep-sea diving capabilities, rapidly headed toward the suspected search area. Simultaneously, the British ship HMS Protector, designed for ice patrols and operations in Antarctica, reported detecting 3 signals. Flares ignited at sea, serving as standard distress indicators. These signals were bright orange and white, indicating someone needed help. Unfortunately, these turned out to be false alarms. Subsequently, it was established that these flashes of light were the result of atmospheric distortions, refraction of light in the air, creating illusions on the horizon. In the early 21st century, Russia undertook large-scale and decisive measures to locate and rescue its naval submarine forces. As part of this operation, a unique and powerful aircraft was deployed, the strategic bomber Tumanus 142, designed for maritime patrol. Its use significantly expanded the search radius, as this aircraft has the capability for prolonged airborne endurance and high flight range, making it indispensable for long-term monitoring of large ocean areas. Thanks to this plane, crews were able to observe an extensive maritime territory, gathering vital information and helping coordinate search efforts. Specialists and pilots from other countries also joined these efforts. For example, the United States Navy sent its modern patrol aircraft, the P-8 Poseidon, known for high precision and long-range reconnaissance capabilities. British Royal Navy ships also participated, notably the HMS Protector, which carried out search and rescue tasks. Alongside them, representatives from other nations, Chile, Germany, and Peru, joined the operation. These countries deployed their ships, aircraft, and expert teams, pooling their efforts in conditions requiring high coordination and professionalism. The total human resource involved in this large-scale operation exceeded 4,000 personnel. They worked continuously in shifts to prevent any interruption in search and rescue activities. Their tasks included not only conducting search zones using hydroacoustic systems and underwater sensors, but also carrying out rescue drills, preparing evacuation plans, and organizing the collection and analysis of data obtained from hydrolocators and other detection tools. All of this took place under the harsh conditions of the South Atlantic weather, which often posed serious obstacles. Winds frequently reached speeds over 100 kilometers per hour, and storms tore through the sea, hindering the work of ships and hydroacoustic systems. During such moments, hope for a successful search seemed very fragile, and progress was difficult. In these challenging conditions, the International Coordination Organization, ISMERLO, established after the tragedy of the Russian submarine Kursk in 2000, took over the leadership of the rescue operations. This organization unites the efforts of various fleets and operates across different time zones, ensuring synchronization and efficiency of joint efforts. However, the weather and natural elements began to turn against the rescuers. The winds intensified, with gusts reaching and exceeding 100 kilometers per hour, significantly complicating the operation of hydroacoustic and navigation systems. As a result, all search efforts slowed down, and progress in the rescue operation became almost impossible. At some point, the situation changed when Argentine specialists gained access to some of the last messages transmitted from the submarine San Juan. After the accident and the vessel's disappearance, these pieces of information, preserved in automated systems in the data transmission log, became crucial. In early November, the Argentinians discovered that some of the final automatic messages sent by San Juan contained important information about the condition of the submarine. By the end of November, specifically on the 27th, they publicly announced the information received for the first time. This message indicated that seawater had entered the submarine's hull through a special air intake, the snorkel. This led to a flood in the forward battery compartment, causing a short circuit and consequently a fire. The crew managed to handle and extinguish the fire despite the danger and difficult conditions. Afterward, they decided to isolate the damaged compartment by disconnecting it from the rest of the submarine and switched to working with the backup battery located at the rear of the vessel. However, after these measures, complete silence fell on board. Radio communication became unavailable, and contact with the submarine was lost. I really want to understand what truly happened to this ship because I do not believe the official version of events at all. It seems to me that something is being hidden from us, that we are being misled. When news of the loss of 44 sailors became known, the tragedy of the San Juan submarine turned into the most severe naval disaster for the Argentine fleet in peacetime. This event proved to be more terrifying and extensive than even the catastrophe in 1949, when the minesweeper Fournier sank. On a global scale, it became one of the most tragic cases of submarine disappearance in history, starting with the case of the Chinese submarine of the type GA-035G, with the number 361, which went missing in 2003. The world community realized that losing such equipment is not only a great tragedy, but also a highly complex challenge for specialists. As reality gradually unfolded, hope gave way to grief. Navy veterans gathered quietly at memorials, feeling the full weight of the loss. They understood clearly what it meant to perish, trapped inside a steel hull beneath the depths of the water, under pressure capable of destroying any ship. San Juan disappeared somewhere in the depths of the southern Atlantic Ocean, broken, hidden in the darkness of the ocean abyss, and its crew was forever lost in the depths. Recovering a sunken submarine is one of the most challenging tasks in maritime exploration history. Even the most modern fleets, equipped with virtually unlimited resources, have often encountered failures. Just recall the French submarine Eurydice, which disappeared in 1970 and was never found after more than 53 days despite sinking close to the French coast. Or the French Minerva, which went missing in 1968 and was only discovered in 2019, more than half a century later. The American nuclear submarine Scorpion vanished in 1968 and was only found after 5 months, despite the assistance of the SOSUS system, which allowed for tracking submarine acoustic signals. The Israeli submarine Dakar also disappeared in 1968 and was only discovered in 1999. The Australian submarine A1 disappeared in 1914 and was found only in 2017 after more than a century of unsuccessful searches. These stories clearly demonstrate that San Juan could remain lost forever despite all efforts. By early 2018, the international community had nearly ceased large-scale search operations. Argentina was left with limited resources and few options. In desperation, the government offered a reward of $5 million for any information that could lead to the submarine's discovery. But that was not enough. At the end of September 2018, the American company Ocean Infinity, specializing in deep-sea exploration, made a proposal. They promised to search for San Juan without upfront payment. If they found it, they would receive a substantial reward. If not, they would leave empty-handed. Their vessel, Seabed Constructor, set out to sea just a few weeks later, in October. It was equipped with the most advanced technology for locating underwater objects. The ship carried autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, fitted with high-precision sonar systems. These devices could operate at depths where humans or conventional equipment could not survive under pressure. Unlike outdated systems, they could simultaneously cover large sections of the seabed and create detailed maps. The submarine suddenly disintegrated. A complete implosion occurred. Debris was scattered across an area of approximately 8,000 square meters of the ocean floor. The steel hull, designed to withstand immense pressures, was shattered with incredible force, resulting in chaos of twisted metal and wreckage inside. Surface photographs showed distorted metal parts and fragments of the ship, once a combat vessel, now completely broken apart. These images served as a grim reminder that a submarine once lay here, carrying out an important military mission. Oliver Plunkett, the head of Ocean Infinity, addressed the public. He expressed hope that locating the resting place of the ARA San Juan could bring some comfort to those who experienced the loss. His words reflected genuine concern. "We sincerely hope that discovering the resting place of the ARA San Juan will provide some solace to those going through this difficult time." He also noted that it was an extremely challenging project, and the successful outcome achieved today, after previous search efforts, clearly demonstrates the effectiveness of the company's technology. $7.5 million were spent on the search for the submarine, a sum many considered excessive given the complexity and danger of deep-sea operations. Some critics believe that such money could have been better spent. At the same time, the public statement by the company's CEO praising his firm's technology was met with mixed reactions. Many found it inappropriate in such a delicate situation. For the families of the fallen, the discovery was undoubtedly a relief, but it did not bring them peace. They finally learned where their sons, husbands, and fathers rest. However, instead of hope and comfort, a sense of finality and despair set in, as the long-held grief became unshakable. Luis Antonio Nez, the father of one crew member, Luis Nez, expressed his emotional burden in words. "We know they can be retrieved because Ocean Infinity said they have the technology and equipment for it. If they send it there, I want them to bring it back." However, recovering a submarine at such a depth, nearly 1,000 meters, is almost never done. The wreckage will remain on the ocean floor, like many other lost submarines, frozen in the eternal darkness of the sea depths. The search has ended, but questions remain. Subsequently, a wave of accountability began. This was followed by the swift dismissal of the commander of the Argentine Navy, Marcelo Schroer. An investigation revealed new details complicating the political situation surrounding the tragedy. It turned out that on November 4th, Second Lieutenant Roberto Daniel Median sent a message to his sister Jessica, in which he wrote, "On Monday we had a British helicopter behind us, and yesterday, a Chilean one. There's a lot of activity around here." Later, this message became public and confirmed that the initial reports about the situation had been understated. It was revealed that the San Juan was monitoring areas near the Falkland Islands, observing British military and civilian ships. This news added geopolitical tension to the situation, transforming the maritime disaster into a potential diplomatic conflict. The British government confirmed that it was regularly monitoring the situation, but tried to keep its reactions restrained, avoiding public conflicts. Various theories were proposed regarding the cause of the accident, including suggestions of external attack. However, after a thorough examination of the debris, these theories were dismissed. Underwater photographs revealed no signs of collision or assault. No damage was found that could indicate a collision with Chinese fishing vessels or involvement of British forces. The initial reports received after the last radio communication, indicating that water had begun to enter the battery compartment, were later confirmed. It was clearly stated that the primary cause of the technical failure was seawater leakage into the submarine through a faulty snorkel valve, a special mechanism that allows diesel submarines to operate their engines while remaining just below the water surface. This valve plays a crucial role by providing ventilation and air supply for the engines when the submarine is submerged. Whether the valve failure was due to a mechanical defect or human error remained unresolved. However, seawater ingress into the battery compartment triggered a rapid and intense internal explosion, a so-called deflagration, which is a very fast combustion spreading without the characteristic loud bang typical of military explosions. This explosion occurred at near sonic speed and was deadly for the crew. As a result of this emergency, the crew lost control of the submarine. It quickly descended below its design depth, the so-called crush depth, where the hull could no longer withstand the immense water pressure, leading to a catastrophic implosion, that is, an internal rupture of the hull under compressed pressure. This explosion was merely the final act in a chain of failures and errors that led to the tragedy. Defense Minister Oscar Aguad blamed both technical deficiencies and human negligence. He noted that the fire in the battery compartment was not promptly and properly addressed, despite similar incidents having occurred previously in 1995, and that this incident should have served as a warning to the command, which was ignored. Aguad also criticized the modernization efforts carried out between 2008 and 2014. During this period, 625 repair works were documented, yet even after these, the submarine remained insufficiently prepared for combat missions. Naval experts pointed to poor crew training and the lack of clear, rehearsed procedures for emergency situations, especially in the event of flooding in the battery compartments. The basic safety rules that should have become second nature to sailors did not work at the critical moment. In addition, natural conditions worsened the situation. During the final hours in the San Juan area, a fierce storm struck the South Atlantic Ocean. It is quite possible that surfacing the boat could have helped the crew deal with the flooding, but stormy waves created too dangerous a situation for surfacing. In the submerged position, the sailors had to fight an escalating disaster, remaining cut off from help and fresh air. On October 24, 2021, a memorial was erected at the naval base in Mar del Plata to honor the memory of the 44 fallen. This memorial serves as a stark reminder of how dangerous this silent service is, of the risks faced by those who dedicate their lives to underwater maritime activities.